This New York Giants scorebug took over a month to create, and I'm going to walk you through every single design decision I made to come to this point. The reason it took me so long is because I went through so many different revisions, because blue and red is not an easy color combo to work with. And since these videos have been popping off on TikTok, I thought I'd do a more in-depth video on what exactly I was thinking, how I was using Illustrator, what tools I was using, and other different design choices I may have made that I have left out of this final product. Without further ado, let's just get into it. Like every design, I do my research first, and I found this identity that is currently still being used by Zro-g on Behance. Zro-g is an incredible sports brand identity company, and I highly recommend you check out their work. I'll leave a link to their Behance page in the description below. So to get started, there's a lot of action in the New York Giants brand identity. There's red, there's blue, there's white, and that's mostly it for the color scheme, which I knew was going to be difficult in the beginning, but the Zro-g brand identity page on Behance actually helped a ton. If I can't find a sports team's identity, I just go to their Instagram and I go to their website and I try to pick out certain assets that they use, but they actually break it down all here on the page, which is really nice. The typography, they use Being Black, which is an incredible typeface, and they use Resolve Sans. Now, both of those were expensive, so I didn't use them. I experimented with different ones like Gibson and Big Shoulders, and eventually decided on Big Shoulders. The reason I did this is because Big Shoulders has a ton of different variables. As you can see on the right here, they go from thin to black, and there's 9 different variations. So when you work with a typeface, it's good to just stick with one and then deal with the variables later, instead of using 2 or 3 that you might not be good at. You can see here I tried to use Gibson, but I didn't really like it. I thought it was too bulky and it didn't really fit the curviness, as you can see here in the typography for the New York Giants. Another thing that I took out of this brand identity was that they use a lot of shapes, especially sharp and actionable shapes. So as you can see here in one of the lower thirds that I picked from their YouTube videos, it's very diagonal and there's a lot of action going on, but it's clean, it's simple, it's not like in your face. Same here in one of their Instagram posts. It's kind of like, So I wanted to act on that and not have it go too crazy. This specific symbol I deal with in a certain stage of these designs, so we'll get back to that. But that's one form of inspiration that I took from. Another one was this 100 Seasons identity that they got from Contino, New York. They're also an incredible identity page. They also did the creamsicle identity for the Buccaneers, which is awesome. So I'll leave a link for them down below as well. The 100 Seasons identity I loved because it has kind of this raw, textury feel. It's not too serious. Unlike the Zro-g identity that is very sharp and clean, this has a bit more ruggedness to it. And the New York Giants are a historical team, so of course they're going to have a little bit of grain, a little old school dust and speckles on them. So I took from that as well. So these were the 2 primary inspirations that I took from. And then as well, for scorebugs, I kind of just searched the web and found that the NBC one is pretty cool, as well as the college football scorebugs were really cool, and the Netflix ones. These 3, I kind of took inspiration from. Obviously, I changed it up a bunch. The final one does not look anything like Netflix, but that's fine. Also, I realized Fox's scorebug kind of looks like Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, so that was funny. That was during a live stream. Another thing I do is I like to just create some assets that I may or may not use. These were hand drawn and then scanned into Illustrator, and then I use the image trace tool to turn them into black and white, like numbers. And this was actually from a historical banner that I found, an old school banner that was used for the New York Giants, but I ended up not using them. So let's get into stage 1. Stage 1, actually, let me take a drink. That's cool. That's cool. Don't worry about that. So starting with stage 1, this is a corner bug. These fonts, I used a font that is no longer on this computer, so that's why it's pink. But these corner bugs, I got inspired from the original NFL scorebug, the one on Fox that they have in the top left. And it's pretty cool. I tried experimenting a few times, having it in the corners and then having the time in different places, but that didn't really work out very well. But I mostly took inspiration from these shapes. I thought this might be a cool shape to work with and have all the information in there. And so you can see it here with the rounded edges. But I didn't really like this. The reason I didn't like this is because it's been done before. Here's a thing I found on Behance of somebody doing a Kansas City scorebug or a CBS scorebug rebrand, and it's all right. And these just, I didn't like them because the red and the blue started to mesh together in my eyes. Like, I didn't think that it looked good together, and 4 different colors is kind of crazy for a scorebug, as well as using white for everything. White typography I have used mostly in my past scorebugs, and I found that when you use white for everything, it doesn't look good. They don't use it over here. They use blue and red and white. But yeah, it didn't really look good. So after that, I thought, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's look at the logo, and can I take anything from this? So I got the idea to do maybe a blue with a red outline. And that was okay for a little bit. You can see it here. I tried to experiment with gradients on the outside and, have the red on the outside with the blue on the inside. But once again, I mean, look at this. It's ugly. The gradient doesn't really fit very well. There's still an outline on the New York logo, so it didn't look very good. Tried using curves, tried using a shape to kind of keep that container in, and I just didn't like it. I mean, you can understand. I tried to do an across the screen one using the Y as the inspiration, but there's just not enough information to go across the entire screen. I know there's some scorebugs that do use that, but nowadays we're so starved for like analytics, information about the players that can pop up on the screen. So keeping a small scorebug is what most networks are doing nowadays. Stage 3. I honestly kind of like this. This was like origami. I experimented with drop shadows and, maybe having it be a square. I kind of got some inspiration from this where it's the sharp lines cutting through, but in the end, it didn't really look very good. I do return to using triangles for the final one, but you'll see that at the end. I tried using ovals as well. I tried to kind of take this O and turn it into something, or 0 and turn it into something, but once again, that didn't really work out. I got to this really disgusting, like, greenish thing, and I didn't like it. And then I also tried to add some texture on a black scorebug, and that wasn't very good too. Same here. I mean, this was a good base, but building off of it is really difficult to do, and it doesn't look good. Okay, stage 5. This is what I was talking about earlier. The football designs and then this square shape. I thought that could be cool to kind of incorporate into a banner. So I tried to use figure ground to make it a directional football. So it's like in action. But, it's hard to fit straight lines into a curved container. You can see on CBS's or NBC's, they do that sort of, but it's just, to me, it's messy. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different font sizes and 1, 2, 3 maybe font styles. So I would have had to do something like that with this banner, and I didn't really like it. Okay, stage 6. This is where I actually thought I was going somewhere. I started a mood board of like New York and MetLife Stadium, and I saw these helmets, and I thought, oh, that's really cool. That's really iconic. And so I started working with actual photos of the New York Giants helmets and the Lions helmets. And I did this by taking a photo of the helmet, bringing it into Photoshop, removing the background, adding a threshold adjustment layer, and then adding a gradient map adjustment layer. And I thought this looked really cool. I mean, I still think it looks really cool, but on the field and on the broadcast, it simply did not work. And it was too much for, the viewer to focus on, especially when there's gradients on both helmets. I tried to do this black and white, but it's just messy. It's not clean, and I didn't like that. Okay, so after all this, my computer was about to explode. So I created a new artboard to get started on, and I did some sketches. I highly recommend everybody just buy a sketchbook. This was like $5 on Amazon. And I can actually show you what I started to do. So I found colored pencils and I just started drawing. And I actually found, while I was doing this, I was watching soccer. I was trying to get inspiration from different sports because football, if you want to create something unique in football and you've already seen all the football score bugs, obviously it's going to start to all look the same. So I went outside of my comfort zone. I started watching soccer and I saw this and I thought, oh, I actually really like these diamonds. So I did a sketch and I thought, okay, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. So I started to incorporate that into this design straight off the bat. I loved it. I think there's something about just having them in their own containers with their own scores. It's very fitting. And I think it looks really good. So from there, I created a triangle. I used the shape builder to do this, but I'm just going to show you what I did to create this kind of variation between the three. So what I did was I created a triangle. I copied it and pasted it on top of itself using Control-Shift-V, Command-Shift-V if you're on a Mac. And up in the width panel, let me move this down. Up in the width panel, I took it and I divided it by 3. And I thought, oh, it actually creates like a shape, you know, it actually creates some balance. So I took the shape builder tool, I created shapes from all 3 of them. And then from this triangle, all I did was I went back up to the width right here, and I just started hitting the down key on my keyboard. And voila, it now has a little bit of separation, but it all looks good together. Very nice. And from there, I just added a white background because on the field, you're not going to be able to see this separation. And from there, I just had my timeouts. And actually, this creates a really cool way to showcase where the timeouts belong to now. Because if I wanted to say, okay, the Giants have 2 timeouts left, I can make this a gray and then say the Lions have used 2 timeouts and I can make those gray. Now you can see just based off of what's gray and what isn't, the direction of the timeouts and how much they have left. I think it's a really cool feature that I totally did not mean to add, but it works out anyways. Now we're getting here. Now it's organizing the typography, and organizing typography with scorebugs is so difficult. It is so hard because there's this, the position, the quarter, and then the play clock. And all 4 of those are different lengths. And you also need arrows, which I add in the end, but you need to show which direction they're going, how much time they have left, where they are on the field, what quarter they're in, how many timeouts, which is very fun. That's why I love making scorebugs for football, but it can be a pain. And so from there, you can see who has possession because the color, if I wanted to show that the Giants had possession, I would simply just change the color on these. There you go. And then from there, I thought, okay, it's basically finished. I just need a texture. And funnily enough, I went to New York City a week ago. And so I took a picture there. And this was one of the pictures I took. I went to Times Square and I just took the outline of the city, not the outline, sorry. I took the photo of the city and I cropped it. I got rid of all the advertisements because no free advertisements. I added a black and white filter as well as a posterize adjustment layer and a threshold adjustment layer. And then I just added a halftone effect, just a cute little halftone effect, and up to the brightness. And then from there, I just put it on top of the scorebug. I made the opacity 19. I mean, honestly, I can bump that up to 20. And yeah, that's basically it. I moved it behind everything else, and I added this little curve because the New York Giants logo has that little curve. And boom, there's the final New York Giants scorebug. I love it. Here are the arrows I added, by the way, to show position. I think it's if I told you like, oh, this took me a month and then I saw this, I would be like, really? It took you a month to come up with this? But that's the whole point. You're trying to keep it simple, but you're also trying to keep it informative. and you're trying to have a little pizzazz in there. And somebody in my TikTok comments actually said these look like you're staring up at the skyscrapers, the timeouts, which hey, I didn't mean to do, but I think that's true. I think that looks great. And then yeah, that's it. That's the New York Giants scorebug that I created. It's very fun to do these. It's a good exercise. I've created I think 12 up to this point, maybe 10. And every time it's something insane, it's something new, and you get to experience, working with different brand identities every time. And if you're a graphic designer, working with different brand identities is, yeah, I mean, that's your job. So this is good practice. I highly recommend everybody, do it themselves. I've gotten some messages of people telling me they've done their own sketches and they've tried their own score bugs, and it's really cool to see other people doing it. So if you enjoyed this breakdown video and you want to see more, make sure to like and leave a comment. Make sure to subscribe. That's huge. And if you want the project file, actually drop a comment down below. I don't know how much people would want that, because this file especially is huge. It makes my MacBook just blow up every time I open it up. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I appreciate all the support you guys have been showing on TikTok. And yeah, thanks for watching.